Welcome to Book Club no Kiseki. I'm Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Hauk.
And I'm Matt Jorgensen.
And the portion of Falcom's Kiseki series we'll be discussing today is The Legend of Heroes, Zero no Kiseki Pre-Story, The Ring of Judgment, the manga that chronicles what Joshua and Estelle are up to after/during Sky the Third. But before we get into that, Tomare, stop! You're going the wrong way. Manga is a completely different type of reading experience. So to start at the beginning, go to the end.
Oh, that's why it didn't make sense.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
How do you...
Well, I need to go reread it. Maybe it'll make more sense.
I read all of Sailor Moon going the wrong way. That story makes a whole lot more sense when it's upside down.
So related to that, I was reading the K-On! Tie-In manga, or maybe it's the original and the anime's a tie-in. I didn't look it up. I just was reading the K-On! Manga, and it switches from regular manga to 4-panel strip just randomly, like 6 pages in. So that I was reading completely the wrong way, and it was not making a lick of sense, because 4-panel manga, you read the 4 panels on the right, then the 4 panels on the left, and then next page. But regular manga, you would read the one on the top right, then top left, and make your way like that. So I was reading 2 strips at the same time, basically, and it was very, very weird.
Nice.
If you're a mangaka and you're listening, don't do that. Don't switch styles of manga halfway through your manga. That's kind of odd and weird, but the manga's really good. If you haven't read it, you should read it. So that's what I've been up to, because I forgot to even give a real hey, what's up. So Matt and Bernard, hey, what's up?
I've been playing a Pokemon trading card game. Let me get the full title, because it's a good title. Just a second. This will just take a moment. I've been playing Pokemon Trading Card Game 2. Here Comes Team GR. The Japan-only sequel to the Game Boy Color Pokemon Trading Card game. Which, have either of y'all played that?
I have not.
No, I played the first one, not the sequel.
Yeah, the first one. The first one was what I was asking about.
I played it when it came out, which means no, I haven't played it because I was a tiny child, and none of those memories are still real.
The secret is that it is fucking fantastic. The music's great, and the game is fun. They somehow made playing the Pokemon trading card game on a Game Boy Color screen fun. It is a miracle of graphic user interface design that they made that fun. And the sequel is just absolutely ridiculous. It's easily over twice as big as the original. It's got new tunes. It's got great graphics. It's got weird cards. I love it. And I wish Nintendo would make a new digital version of Pokemon trading card game, preferably with a single player campaign like this is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want more things to have single player campaigns. Like I used to be, every single game would have some sort of single player campaign stapled onto it, and nowadays it's like nothing.
Or everything would have a multiplayer component stapled onto it. Like, didn't Metroid Prime 2 have a multiplayer mode?
Mm-hmm.
And Pikmin 2 had a multiplayer mode, which was awesome. But very strange that it did.
Yeah, I wish I could go back in time and be in the room where everyone was like, oh, we need to staple a multiplayer mode onto our single player game, and tell them to not just make it deathmatch and other things from first person shooters, and like find a way to make the actual game that everybody has been playing the whole time have a weird, like, asymmetrical or whatever, just multiplayer mode. Because like I would love to play a Metroid Prime multiplayer that was like, I play the Xenomorph, you play Samus. I can do all these extra things because I'm cool and I'm different. Things like that.
You're built different.
Yeah. I wish there were a lot more of those during that time, but no, it's all capture the flag and deathmatch and shit like that.
I remember when I bought Wolfenstein: The New Order in must have been 2014. I was really surprised when there wasn't a multiplayer mode.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, oh, I mean, I was only going to play the single player campaign anyway, but
yeah,
I'm surprised that's all that's offered here.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? What have you been up to?
I picked up a game called Monster Train. I have no idea. So it's kind of like a tower defense game, but it also is kind of a Magic the Gathering clone. And it's also a roguelike.
Monster Train. I think I was recommended that recently, where they were like, oh, you like Slay the Spire? Do you want one that's worse but somehow better? Play Monster Train. And
yeah, like the balance in the game seems to be non-existent. In that, like, sometimes you'll get a combination of cards that you'll just casually beat the game with. And a big emphasis on casually. Like, you can do nothing after you get them out. You're fine. And sometimes the game will just bully you in the meanest way possible. But those are, like, extremes that don't exist in Slay the Spire.
yeah.
The vast majority of the runs feel like a medium to good run on Slay the Spire, which is impressive.
Yeah. Like I haven't won Slay the Spire yet, but I've come close every time I've played.
Yeah, my second run on Monster Train, I actually completed the run. Like they kind of fast forward you to the point of, okay, well, here's all these challenges now, and you can unlock not new characters per se, but like new faction types, because you're for those of you who played Magic the Gathering, all runs are basically guild colors.
Okay.
So there's 5 factions with 2 heroes per faction. And then you take 2 of those and mush them together, and maybe you'll have a plan.
Okay.
And it gets even more interesting because once you use your monsters, unless you give them an upgrade called Endless, they're gone. They either stay out and survive, or they're dead now. And you don't get them again until the next time your train gets attacked.
That's cool.
It's really hard to describe, other than it's really good. Like it's
yeah, it's been on my radar.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
It has not been on my radar. This is my first time hearing about it, so I looked it up on backlog.com, and I'm going to show you all the ad that the page
it's probably
served
terrible.
Me. Because it upset me.
Ew.
It's in Bookclub no Kiseki.
Hold on.
Ew.
I'm really slow. It's ugly. I know.
I don't like it.
Why is Morty from Rick and Morty the most realistically rendered human here?
I don't like this.
Why?
I don't want it.
Why? Why is that?
I mean, not gonna lie, kind of want to play this Happy Wheels thing just to find out if that guy's eyes are always like that.
So Happy Wheels is some Flash game, and I only know it because back in the ancient times, like I'm talking like Ray William Johnson times, there was a YouTuber I followed, and he played Happy Wheels as like a recurring like hangout stream thing. So I know that is some sort of Flash game, and looking at the bottom, it says free online games from Good Play at goodplay.com, the sponsor of this week's episode.
Good.
But the others don't seem like they're from Happy Wheels, but they don't look like games that I would ever want to play.
No. Dude's abs. Dude who's getting surgery, his abs are very separated.
They are. Yeah.
So it's like
anywho,
the opening of Super Mario 64, except with Morty from Rick and Morty. Why would they do that and not just make Super Morty 64?
Yeah. I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Reported. Anywho, on that weird visual segment of the episode, let's transition into listening to some of the bangers from this trilogy that we surely have missed, and then we'll talk about this manga.
We've actually done most of the bangers, I think.
So this manga, if you're listening and you didn't listen to us last week when we talked about how to get it, there's a fan translation of it by, his name is written on literally every page, and I've completely blocked it out of my brain. Do you remember offhand?
No, and I don't have it with me.
It is by
Shram. Original translation, Shram. Original editing, OMG Floofy. Editing and proofing, Goof Forden and Yotaka.
Cool. But you can find it on exterior.net is where we found it. But you can search for it in all the places you can find scanlations. It's probably there. But it's called Ring of Judgment, and it is specifically a prequel to the Crossbell games. But it's also mostly an epilogue to the Sky games.
And an epilogue to a fucking optional book that you can read in the first game if you so choose.
Yeah. Love this dense ass, stupid ass series. But yeah, so it makes sense it probably makes a little more sense to have read this after Zero first came out. Like the way that it ties into Zero at the end makes a lot of sense to be a bonus after you start Zero. So when I get there, I'm going to be a lot of people that they don't bother to name show up. But for our intents and purposes, chronologically it goes here. So this is where we're slapping it in. And yes, it's a tie-in to the Carnelia manga or the Carnelia book, because why not? But there are only a handful of chapters, including a prologue. So we'll just dive right in. So the prologue starts with Estelle and Joshua sparring together at first light. Estelle's narration, which, by the way, is weird. There's a narrator to this, which we don't have in the game, but it's cool. And right off the bat here, like with the narration and them talking, the fan translation really nails Brittany et al. Tone of the games, and it feels like right at home with the official translations, which is not something that really happens in the fan translation space, especially manga fan translations. Manga fan translations need to be fast more than they need to be good. And this is thankfully is very, very good. And it didn't feel while reading it like I was reading a fan translation. Normally fan translations, you run smack first into the fact that one of the languages spoken was not the person's first language, but I didn't feel like that at all during this. But Estelle's narration informs us that they've been traveling with Toval, an Erebonian bracer, since they aren't familiar with the Empire's way of doing things. They're in the Empire looking for Ren while investigating the Jester Jaeger Corps, which are the same corps that were attacking the Empire's bracer branches back in first chapter. We learned this in the Star Door that we skipped, that Jimmy was like, hey, this is what that door that you skipped was about. They were the ones that Cassius had to go off and fight, which is why he wasn't the main character of this trilogy. We were. Estelle and Joshua volunteer to take the lead on the Jester Jaeger case right as Toval gets a call from someone. Toval says that this person has put in a request alongside the guild for the same resolution, which means that there will be extra payment for the same job, and that extra payment is ... smash cut to chapter 1. In chapter 1, Joshua and Estelle are in the middle of a fight with the Jaegers, and they have the same black hoods that they wore in first chapter. But during the fight, Estelle notices that all of their eyes are solid white. After a brief struggle, Toval shows up to use some arts, and he kills the Jaeger, which is concerning because he was holding back. They wanted information, not murder. And during the battle, he could tell that this Jaeger was even stronger than the Jaegers that Cassius fought. So if he was super strong and he was holding back, why did he just keel over? So in town, they ask around if anybody has heard or seen anything, and the people there say that they haven't heard anything about the Jester Jaegers, but some people have been going missing, even bracers and other strongmen. And there is an old fortress nearby, and they've seen some fishy people hanging out around it, which is close enough to a lead for our gang to go investigate. Estelle spunky protagonists all over the place and bumps into a little girl, making her drop what she's carrying, and the gang offers to carry it home for her. Back at her place, we find out that she loves reading, and her favorite book of all time is Carnelia, the book from first chapter that stars a man named Toby who fights with only an orbment and worked for a girl named Ein Selnate, aka Carnelia. She also reads The Doll Knight, which thankfully isn't important to the plot of this manga, since we didn't read it at all during second chapter. The girl, whose name is Tilia, says that she loves to read, but her eyes are starting to go bad. And the gang's like, oh, do you live by yourself, or is someone here to take care of you since you're going blind? And she says that her brother Kai lives with her, but he hasn't come back since yesterday. But don't worry, he's just an engineering student, and he gets distracted at work all the time. He surely hasn't disappeared due to the plot point of people disappearing.
So I found it funny. They're like, little, like, 7-8-year-old kid, do you live alone? And she's like, no, my brother takes care of me. So I'm like, okay, she has a much older brother, but then the brother shows up later and he looks like he's like 12 or 13. And I'm like, I feel like there should be someone else too taking care of these people.
Yeah, there was a picture on the mantelpiece that showed an older person there with them, but they never brought up who it was or how they're involved or what. They only mention Kai and Tilia. So
I'm pretty sure that's passed away parents in the picture.
Maybe so. Later, Toval and Joshua are calculating the next leg of their journey, what they're going to be doing, and they say that they'll be leaving tomorrow. So Stella's like, okay, that gives me time to go be a big sister, and she runs off to spend more time with Tilia. During their sleepover, Tilia asks Estelle what she's doing in the Empire, and Estelle says that she's looking for Ren, and Tilia says she knows that Ren is waiting for Estelle because she waits for her brother all the time, and it makes it that much better when he comes home. It just works that he's working so late this week, and he hasn't been home in a couple of days. Meanwhile, Joshua and Toval are talking to what looks like the priest, and I called him that all the time in my notes. Turns out at the end of the whole manga, he's a mayor, so if I say priest, I'm reading from my notes. So the priest says that the shifty people are rumored to be in control of some kind of ring, and that last night they attacked the town's atelier and kidnapped an engineering student named Kai. Shocking. So in chapter 2, the gang is fighting some more Jaegers and also just one regular guy, but all of them, including the regular guy, have white eyes, and once they start to lose, they fall down completely dead. The regular guy was someone that Toval knew. He was a bracer that Toval had worked with before. They figure that he was drugged or hypnotized or something, but Toval thinks that it's an artifact. The second phone call earlier suggested that it might be an artifact, and he's sure of it now because that bracer wouldn't have joined the Jaegers even if he was drugged or hypnotized. He was too strong for that shit. So the real enemy isn't the Jaegers, but whoever has this artifact using it to control them, increase their strength, then kill them when the going gets tough. Toval thinks that the artifact is probably a ring of some sort, and Joshua says that he was thinking the same thing, but all of the people he was fighting, none of them had a ring. So if it is a ring, it has the ability to keep control even after it's removed. So if someone gets imprisoned by the ring, they're gone for forever. Just then, a big-ass rock golem shows up to fight him. It's fighting much better than a normal monster would. Like, has like strategy and shit. And they look around, and sure enough, there's a little boy nearby controlling it. It's Kai, and they recognize him from the pictures at Tilia's house. And on Kai's finger, there's a ring. Estelle doesn't let the guys attack Kai, and instead tries to convince Kai to snap out of it. But the golem tries to beat the shit out of her, and so Joshua and Toval have to pull Estelle out of the cave to regroup. Toval says that ring was definitely the artifact, so after some time, he'll turn into a doll like the Jaegers. Estelle is like, so you're telling me there's a chance, and decides to run back in there to save Kai. Right then, for some reason, Tilia shows up to this unknown cave in the wilderness outside of town when she's blind. Okay. And she says that the mayor said that her brother was kidnapped and that the people who are controlled by the ring have white eyes. So she asks Estelle what color her brother's eyes were. Estelle doesn't say. She just says that we're bracers. We're here to save people. We'll save her brother.
I'm guessing it was like she heard brothers in danger and got this information that the bracers went to this place. So I guess the mayor was just like, I'll tell this little kid who doesn't have a fully developed brain yet because they're a little kid all this information, and surely they won't do anything rash.
And yet. So back inside the cave, Estelle reveals what we couldn't see in the black and white manga, that Kai's eyes weren't all the way white yet. So there is still a chance that he hasn't turned. Estelle tells Toval to use arts over and over to lure the golem away from Kai, so Joshua's ninja ass can try and get the artifact off of his finger. So they do that with no complications. Just 4 panels of whooshes and Joshua taking the ring off.
Well, they can't have a boss battle in a manga.
They could try. With the ring off, Kai wakes up and is himself again. The bracers ask him what happened, and he says that someone he didn't know came into the atelier the night before and gave him the ring. As soon as he put it on, a voice came in his head and said that it would judge his sins, and it showed him visions of his sins over and over again. And Estelle is like, what sins? You're 5. And he says that...
She says, searching for Rin.
Yes. Searching for noted mass murderer Ren Bright. He says that he should have tried harder and worked harder so that he could have afforded care for his sister. And Toval tells him to shut up. He says that the ring deep into the wound in his heart, and it's okay to like fail in life. It's not a sin to mess up. Estelle remembers that Joshua is probably the worst person to handle an artifact that deepens the wounds in his heart, because he spent an entire game not reacting to that well. So she runs off to find him. Meanwhile, Joshua is being haunted by images of him as the Black Fang, covered in blood, standing over corpses, the works. But then he hears someone in a spunky-looking font telling him that he's already atoned for these sins, and the only way to further atone is to keep going. So he snaps out of it and takes Estelle's hand. The golem starts to get up again, and Estelle's like, oh shit, let me grab this ring and we'll get out of here. And Joshua's like, no, don't touch it. And Estelle's like, what? Let's go. Seemingly completely unaffected by the ring. Estelle takes the ring and Kai outside, and Toval is like, wow, is Estelle just such a plucky protagonist that she doesn't have any sins? And Joshua's like, no, she's just special, and she can take the wounds of the past and turn them into hopes for the future. Kai apologizes to Tilia, saying that he should have worked harder to restore her sight, but Tilia is like, it's fine. If I can't read my books, you'll just read them to me, right? A super hot voice from off screen says that since Kai and Tilia helped with recovering the ring, they should be able to get a reward from the Bracer Guild. Turns out that it's a nun that we recognize as Ian Silnate, Carnelia herself from Kevin's flashbacks. She was the one that hired Toval, Estelle, and Joshua, and as such has that extra payment that she mentioned before, which was information about Ren. They give her the ring to take to the church, and she tells them what she found out about Ren. She did not return to Ouroboros after the events of second chapter. And that's it. That's only information that she has. Ian asks them what they'll do to find Ren, and they say that their plan to adopt her. Ian is surprised, so she offers a rumor that she can't promise is true. The other thing she knows is absolutely true, but this is just stuff that she's heard, that Ren didn't return to the Empire, but she went to Crossbell, so that's where they're going to head next, which is conveniently where we're headed next.
So, I don't know if this is relevant, but when Ren was pretending to be a normal child in second chapter, wasn't her cover story that she was from Crossbell?
Yes.
I wonder if that's relevant to anything. It
might be. I think Estelle and Joshua went to the Empire because I think Ouroboros talked about disappearing to the Empire when we fought them, and so they were seeing if she went with them, and now that they know that she's not, that she probably went to Crossbell, they now have a much better lead. After Estelle and Joshua leave, Ian and Toval have a conversation about how Estelle and Joshua seem to make the impossible seem possible, like adopting a murderer and reforming her. Toval says that he's surprised that the cold-hearted Carnelia would be moved by the power of friendship, and she says, "You're imagining things, Toby." That's right. Toval is also a novel character in real life. I'm glad that I read Carnelia back in the day, since it's been so important to an entire game and now a manga.
The problem with these games is that when something like this happens, you tend not to have an "oh my gosh" moment. You tend to have a "I know that name" moment. It took me a bit. I saw it and I didn't progress until I remembered, and then I remembered that Toby was from Carnelia.
Yeah. In Crossbell, a while later, we see Estelle and Joshua meet a few characters that have character design, so we'll definitely learn who they are in the next game. And it ends with them taking a bracer request to help out the police's special support section, which is our party in the Crossbow game. They're supposed to help them with a monster attack, and we see the people from the cover of Trails from Zero from the back as Estelle and Joshua run off to help them, which is probably when they show up in the next game. Would be my guess. This is the part that definitely feels like remember this part that we haven't got to yet. In the epilogue, we see Carnelia and Toby visiting Tilia and Kai. And Carnelia reads the Carnelia novel to Tilia, emphasizing the parts where her character talks shit to Toval's character, and it's hilarious. In the next room, Toby gives Kai the reward from the Bracer Guild, which is conveniently enough to cover the medical bills for Tilia. As Toby talks about how the Bracer Guild will cover it, and Carnelia is reading the book, Tilia realizes that this is the Toby and the Carnelia, and she geeks out, and the manga ends. So, yeah. Let's listen to some more Random Trails music, and then we'll talk about our memorable moments and this manga and stuff like that.
星のように朝に溶けて消えてゆく行き先をなくしたまま思いは溢れてくる
So I found it so funny just how ridiculously pretty they drew Joshua.
Oh yeah.
It was so over the top.
It's pretty good.
I when I started reading it, I was like, this is going to be weird, because the picture that they pick to like advertise it or whatever on the site where we read it, like that doesn't look like Trails at all. And I was like, this is going to feel so weird reading it, but like they nailed the look, the feel, the Joshua, the Estelle of it all. It really felt like the game, which does not normally happen in tie-in media.
Also, this also goes to show how the translation was good. I realized how much I'd missed having Estelle as the main character.
Mm-hmm.
I love her. I love Kevin too, but I love Estelle more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This manga does the manga trope of like the reaction panels will be chibi sketches of the characters, and every single time they draw a chibi sketchy Estelle, it's so fucking perfect. It nails her exact everything. She was made for this art style, and it's every single one of them is great.
Mm-hmm.
I also really liked that they ask everyone in the town, like, have you heard anything? And everyone's like, no. And Josh was like, hey, ladies, have you heard anything about the Jaegers? And they're like, oh my God, yeah, they're over there. Which, like, same.
Silly.
The last one that I had is Estelle bitches at Toval to equip some blue quartz to heal if he's going to be a caster. He has a really shit caster build if he can't heal himself after battle. Which is really good.
I forgot about that part. You gotta have some blue quartz on everyone.
Literally every person. Like, my builds in game are so bad because every person has the highest attack that they can get and the highest HP that they can get. Because why would I not want everyone to hit hard and also heal? It makes sense.
I mean, there are better things to do with your quartz.
Yeah, I said that my builds were all bad.
Yeah. Also, one thing that I found funny was when there was a panel when like Joshua was using his knives on the golem, and I'm just like, when it's anything other than a video game, seeing someone like use knives against stone is funny.
So stupid.
When it's a video game, it's fine.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? How did you enjoy this?
So, my favorite thing is prevalent throughout the manga. I just went back and checked to make sure. Because they didn't want to draw damage on anybody's clothing, because these are JRPG characters, they wear the same outfit, whether it's damaged or not. They used blush lines to indicate being tired or being strained.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some amazing out-of-context panels. Trying to find... There was one in particular while fighting the golem. I'm trying to find it. Where if you took out the fight scenes, it would just look like a very tender moment between Estelle and Joshua instead of, hey, we're fighting a monster right now. But other than that, it's a really, like, I know why they did what they did for that particular art thing. It's just super funny out of context. And
I'll take your word for it.
Fighting a battle is embarrassing for Estelle and Joshua.
Yep.
They're embarrassed by their quartz loadouts.
Yeah. Yeah, they're using my save file. It's bad. But also, speaking of quartz loadouts, Toby would be fun to play as in the game because he doesn't have an attack. He only uses arts. I'm not sure what that would do, but it'd be an interesting tactical wrinkle to have somebody like give his orbment like 2 extra slots than everybody else or something, like make him be even better than Chloe or Olivier in casting. But the drawback is that you can't hold down X to win because he doesn't have an attack.
Mm-hmm.
They could do something really interesting with a character like that, where you make the base attack just a mana recharge. And then, like, you have to go back and use the quartz if you want to make any kind of progress, but then you're not stuck out of blue bar.
Yeah. But yeah, this manga was surprisingly good. I was kind of expecting this episode to just be like our Final Fantasy 13 book.
I was thinking
clubs.
about the Final Fantasy 13 book club, which wasn't so great. It was fun, but the source material wasn't so great.
Yeah, but this was actually good, and it makes me wonder. It makes me want to see if these people did the translation for the main adaptations of the first 2 books and go back and read them just to see more chibi drawings of Estelle.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had something. I don't have it anymore, though.
If you think of it, feel free to cut me off to say it, because now I do the part where I read the same words at the end of every podcast. So that'll do it for the week. This series is a timed exclusive for our Ko-Fi supporters, so if you're hearing this in the podcast feed, come on over to www.rpgbook.club, and there will be a few extra episodes waiting on you when you donate. And this sentence is now not a lie, because we're back on the weekly grind, because we don't have to do long cast every week. So we're hoping to make our way through the Crossbell games weekly, which might mean there's a small break in between the 2 of them. The coming soon website for Crossbell 2 now says early 2023, so I'm thinking there won't be too big of a break in between the 2, but we'll see. We now have membership tiers on our Ko-Fi, so if you donate $1 or more a month, you get all of the stuff that we had before, such as voting on the polls for our main game, access to these episodes early. But then we also have 2 more tiers, a $5 tier where we will shout out your name every episode, just like this. Shoutouts to AA Ron 524, Cerebral Wind, Anthony Lerma, Vimk, J4 Prime, Eli Bergmas, Doho, and Tuxedo Ken. Then we also have a $20 a month tier where not only will we read your name, but a 1-sentence plug of your choosing. Currently, our friend Carr is the only person at this tier, and he is a dentist, so his plug is not for his Twitch stream, but for your own mouth. And he wants to remind you to brush your teeth twice a day, especially before you go to bed. For Book Club no Kiseki, I have been Sam Allman.
I'm David Bernard Houck, secretly a character from your favorite novel.
And I'm Matt Jorgensen, the background character from your second favorite show.
Adios, amiguios.